Good evening. We begin tonight with a July 1st deadline to review the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade agreement. New U.S. tariffs are set to take effect next week, this time on Canadian mushrooms. As CTV's Jeremy Charon reports, the U.S. is the largest export destination for Canadian mushrooms, and the new levies will hurt the industry.
So we got a room of creminis here, mini bellas, cafe. They've got
it's massive and modern.
This is about 4,300 square feet of growing space.
But family-run, this Ottawa area mushroom farm grows, harvests, and packages in-house. Carlton Mushrooms produces
300,000 pounds a week right now.
But new U.S. tariffs set to be imposed on Canadian mushrooms Monday will take a toll on Mike Medeiros' business, even though his mushrooms stay in Canada.
Canada's mushroom farmers are in big trouble after the United States suddenly placed new taxes on fresh mushrooms coming from Canada. This could hurt farms, cut jobs, and make it harder for Canadian companies to survive. The United States Department of Commerce published a preliminary, affirmative, countervailing duty determination in the Federal Register targeting fresh mushrooms grown in Canada. The change, posted in the Federal Register in May, will slap most fresh mushrooms with tariffs of 2.84%. Two companies received separate duties. Champs Fresh Farms Incorporated was hit with a tariff rate of 1.62%, and Farmers Fresh Mushrooms Incorporated was hit with a tariff rate of 4.97%. Separate anti-dumping duties are expected to be added later this month. The investigation that produced these preliminary duties was launched on January 6, 2026, following a petition by U.S. mushroom growers who argued that Canadian producers benefit from unfair government subsidies. The period of investigation covers January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. Fresh mushrooms of the genus Agaricus are affected, including button mushrooms, chestnut mushrooms, cremini mushrooms, baby bellas, portobello mushrooms, and white or brown table mushrooms, currently classifiable under Harmonized Tariff Schedule of the United States. The legal mechanism is countervailing duties, a specific trade remedy instrument distinct from the broad Section 232 tariffs that Trump has applied to Canadian steel, aluminum, and automobiles through executive action. Countervailing duties are applied through the U.S. Department of Commerce's Enforcement and Compliance Division under Section 703 of the Tariff Act of 1930, following a formal investigation process that examines whether foreign producers receive government subsidies that distort competitive conditions in the American market. The investigation found that standard Canadian agricultural tax exemptions available to mushroom growers constitute countervailable subsidies under American trade law. The Canadian industry's response to that finding was direct and unambiguous. Mushrooms Canada said under U.S. trade law, a subsidy must meet specific legal requirements before it can be countervailed, and the group does not believe those requirements have been met. It is difficult to reconcile Commerce's preliminary approach, the organization stated. Mushrooms Canada CEO Ryan Koslag said Canadian growers have not engaged in unfair trade practices, and producers are not receiving special treatment. The industry's formal position is that the investigation's methodology is deeply flawed, and that the programs Commerce identified do not meet the legal threshold for countervailable subsidies under American trade law. Koslag raised a concern that extends well beyond mushrooms. This not only has a broader implication to Canadian agriculture, but also to the American agriculture producer. They've really opened themselves up to having other countries identify that if the United States is going to start using tax exemptions as a countervail weapon, then we'll do the same against the United States. That observation points to a structural risk embedded in the precedent the mushroom case establishes. Agricultural tax exemptions exist across virtually every developed economy in some form. If standard Canadian tax exemptions constitute countervailable subsidies for mushrooms, the same legal theory is available for application to other Canadian agricultural products and to American agricultural products in Canadian and third country markets. The anti-dumping investigation also launched January 6th. Alleged dumping margins of 26.2, 9 to 38.3, 1% for Canadian mushroom producers. Import statistics show Canada exported 69,848,915 kilograms of fresh mushrooms to the United States in 2024, valued at $349,793,160 US, up from 62,252,181 kilograms in 2023 and 60. 5,034,900, 20 kilograms in 2022. The volume growth in Canadian mushroom exports to the US market over the 2022 to 2024 period from 65 million kilograms to nearly 70 million kilograms is the commercial backdrop against which American producers filed their petition. That growth in Canadian market share, American growers argued, was made possible by unfair subsidization. The final countervailing duty determination is scheduled no later than September 28, 2026. The anti-dumping duty determination is expected to be aligned to the same final date. American importers of Canadian fresh mushrooms are now required to post cash deposits for the preliminary countervailing duty rate as of May 18th. If the final determination confirms the preliminary findings, those deposits become permanent duties. If the anti-dumping determination also reaches a final affirmative result, separate additional duties will be stacked on top of the countervailing duties. The countervailing and anti-dumping duties are separate from Trump's broader tariff agenda. Trump has used different tools to hit countries around the world with tariffs, and Canada is also being hammered by his sector-specific duties on steel, aluminum, automobiles, and cabinetry. Trump's push to realign global trade through tariffs may see more agricultural industries in the United States follow the Mushroom Coalition's lead and push for commerce investigations, according to analyst Pellerin. I think that's going to be not just the United States. We are seeing them in Canada vastly increase also, where Canadian associations are bringing cases against agricultural products from around the world, Pellerin said. The mushroom industry in Canada is concentrated in Ontario, which accounts for the majority of national fresh mushroom production. British Columbia and Quebec also have significant growing operations. The industry employs thousands of workers across growing, packaging, distribution, and logistics functions. Fresh mushrooms are perishable product delays. Cost increases or reduced market access cannot be stored away or redirected to alternative buyers as easily as bulk commodities like grain or potash. The US market is the primary export destination for Canadian fresh mushroom producers by geography and by proximity. A spokesperson for Canada's Department of Global Affairs said the government is reviewing the details of Commerce's preliminary determination and will continue to actively participate in the investigation, including to address systemic issues, defend federal programs, and defend the interests of the Canadian mushroom industry. Canada's participation in the investigation process is the formal avenue for challenging the preliminary findings before the final determination is issued in September. The mushroom case arrives in the middle of a bilateral trade relationship already strained by 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum, automotive tariffs inconsistent with CUSMA's own provisions, forest product duties, and a CUSMA review deadline of July 1st that is approaching without a comprehensive resolution. Countervailing duty investigations operate on their own statutory timelines, independent of the broader trade negotiation. The preliminary determination, published May 18th, will proceed through its own regulatory process toward a September final determination, regardless of what happens at the CUSMA negotiating table in the intervening weeks. The American Mushroom Institute statement marking the preliminary determination described it as an important step toward restoring fairness for American mushroom growers, protecting American jobs, and preserving domestic mushroom production. More than 9 U.S. farm closures in recent years were cited as evidence of the competitive pressure the petition described. The preliminary ruling found sufficient basis to impose the cash deposit requirement while the investigation proceeds toward its final determination.